Waiting in line at the drive-thru of the DJC Collectibles studio, I'm Midwest professional wrestling legend Gage Octane. And now, a guy who once ate 22 breadsticks at the Fort Dodge Fazoli's in 1998, Kyle Peterson.
Welcome, everyone. Kyle here with the co-host, Angie. Angie, say hello.
Welcome, everyone. Angie here.
Angie here. And Angie, what episode are we?
11.
Episode 11 of the Kyle Peterson Show. We're back again. We've beat all expectations in the podcast universe. Like we said earlier on, 3 is the average podcast. We're at number 11. We're just blowing out expectations once again. Angie, you been blown out lately? No, me neither.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. But here we are today with episode 11 of the Kyle Peterson Show. We got a jam-packed episode. Angie, we even got a new segment along the way today.
Oh.
So we're going to dive into that as well. But first, we got to thank our sponsor, DJC Collectibles. Use discount code 8OFFDJC to save 8% off your entire order. Got to get a deal out there. Thank you to DJC Collectibles for sponsoring the podcast. And of course, if you want to be a sponsor on the podcast, hit up the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com. And Angie, how are you?
Good.
Angie, today, Tuesday, June 10th, as this does launch for everybody.
I know that date.
Of course, early for Patreon members. You guys know the drill by now, but the new episodes do hit on June 10th, and we're in a special day. So let's just pretend it's June 10th today. Angie, it's a very special day around this house. Today is Angie's birthday. Angie, you're looking amazing for 62. No. Angie's birthday today. Happy birthday, Angie. I would sing everyone happy birthday, but nobody wants to hear that. But happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Do you feel a year older? Do you feel different? Does anything feel different for you?
No.
Would you say you don't get as excited for your birthday anymore?
I never really did.
You never did. That's sad if you ask me. That's sad. You don't get excited. That's the one thing all year I look forward to is my birthday, not yours.
I don't have expectations. Like I don't. You get disappointed or something.
I get a little sad. I get sad when people forget my birthday, of course. It's just a day of my birth. And I think we talked about it a little bit last time. It's like, it's your special day. You should be able to do whatever you want to do. You should get presents. Today's your special day and you're filming a podcast. Not really. You know how it goes by now. But Angie, what is your plans? You gave a hint of where you thought you wanted to go for dinner for your birthday. Are we going to still go there?
Probably.
Where are we going?
Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse. T for Texas, steak for Angie. That's what we're talking about. And we have a Texas Roadhouse, like walking distance of our house. So, beat the lines, of course. We'll go for the early bird special, get the deal at like 4:30. Why wouldn't you? Save a couple of dollars. Go at 4:30.
We're showing our age.
But Angie, you're up for, and the kids love Texas Roadhouse too.
Yeah.
I don't know about Emma so
That's kind of why I pick it.
No, you got to pick where you want to go.
But...
Where you want to go. And I'm not sure. I'm still up in the air on where I want to go. I'm not sure. But maybe we'll go to Taco Bell. You never know. But Angie, so you're going to go to Texas Roadhouse. You think that's a solid, or do you think it might change?
It's pretty solid.
Pretty solid. Okay, and I got a special birthday gift in the mail for you. You're probably going to hate it. And I was hoping it would be here today. But like most things, of course, FedEx, it got delayed. I got a little something for you. Maybe I could use it too, but I think you'd deal with it better than I would. That's for sure. So more to come, maybe. Or maybe not. It'll be a present for Angie. But that'll be coming in the future here. But we don't really get each other too many gifts on that kind of stuff. It's more, let's just go out to eat and go from there and celebrate later. So that's what we were thinking about. Who knows? But yeah, anything else around your birthday? Anything else you're hoping to do? Any expectations? Another trip around the sun? You got any goals for the next year for yourself?
No.
Do you have any deep thoughts of what you want to do? Where your life is going? Do you think you'll make it to 100 podcasts? Not in the next year, you won't. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's my goal.
That's your goal, to get to 100. Yeah, we're thinking about shutting this show down at 100, so it's going to be interesting. So we're getting closer and closer, but that's it. It's a good kind of bookend. And 100 sounds amazing. 200 sounds kind of weird. 300, 500. So if we don't shut it down at 100, we got to shut it down at 500 for sure.
Crazy. That's like 2 years.
Sure. It would be, yeah. It's crazy how that goes. But Angie, it's your special day. It's your birthday. Is there any wisdom, anything you want to give anybody for your birthday? No, she's no window. Just wait in a couple of weeks. It's my birthday, and this is going to be the all-around birthday spectacular. We're going to have musical guests. We might have a clown. I'm working on a clown to come here. There's going to be balloon animals. There's going to be a lot of stuff, so it'll be a little bit more festive than yours, apparently, Angie. And Angie wouldn't have it any other way. That's, I guess, the way it goes. But Angie, What is? I'm putting her on the spot right here. I'm putting her on the spot. And Angie, she just goes with the flow on this. She doesn't know what's coming. So, Angie, what is your best ever birthday memory? This could be from 1 to 101. All your birthdays. What is your favorite birthday memory? Does anything stick out? Somebody says, Angie, it's your birthday. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
I don't have anything.
Nothing. Nothing. You don't have anything. Not like we went to dinner at Perkins. We went to Denny's. We went to the big city for a celebration.
I don't remember.
My hair caught on fire, blowing out some candles. You don't have anything?
That happened to work one time, but not on a birthday.
Hard times right there. Hard times right there. But there's nothing. I'm trying to think. Anything from the 20 plus years of birthdays we've spent together? I apparently haven't done a very good job on it.
What can you think of? What is
we could do a special show on just my birthdays.
No, I mean, for me, like, is there anything you can think of? You know my memory is terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible. I can't believe you remembered it's episode 11, in all honesty. I'm trying to think over the years of what we did for your birthday. I mean, I remember before kids, and back in the day, we'd go out and hang out. We'd go tie one on. Who knows? I don't know. I guess nothing. No special gifts that stick out. No special anything. Gosh, this is riveting.
I know.
She's got nothing.
I got nothing.
She's got nothing. Well, I got something for you to chew on in a little bit here, so stay tuned for that. That could be your birthday surprise. It'll be good. It'll be good. It might be a little dry, but you'll get it down. You'll choke it down. You always do. But that's it for the beginning of the show. Angie, happy birthday once again. Of course, direct all your happy birthday messages to Angie, of course, or the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com, whatever you want to do. Angie, hopefully maybe out at work, maybe somebody will get you a gift out there at work too. You never know.
Oh, God.
I can see one of these people just walking up and give you like a Starbucks gift card or something. And that's your favorite thing in the world, Starbucks. So we'll see. Starbucks, you need to sponsor Angie. She'd be great. Who knows? Who knows? But Angie, now it's time to go deeper once again. It's time for a deeper dive. All right, Angie, it's time for a deeper dive, a segment where we go a little bit deeper. And this week we're diving... What?
Just a little bit
A little
deeper.
bit deeper? Okay, is that what that is?
I wasn't implying anything.
I don't know what you're applying. Come on. You're like, that's what you're doing. But it's time for a deeper dive, Angie, and this one's going to be near and dear to your heart because coming over the weekend, is that right?
That's me.
That is me, too. Over the weekend, last weekend it was, I've been talking about it on the Kyle Peterson YouTube channel, of course, as well as the podcast, was Moines Con. And as I said before, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, you take those, that's basically Moines Con. If you know what that is, it's basically that. But Angie did come with me to Moines Con this week. Angie, it was nice of you to come visit and hang out. Did you enjoy yourself?
I mean, I didn't have fun, but it was clean and...
Well, we'll get into it. But we went to Moines Con. Angie came and joined me as I was part of the action figure panel that they had there. So they had panels, of course. If you've ever been to a Comic-Con, they have, a cosplay panel. They have celebrity panels. They have all kinds of different panels throughout the weekend and stuff. And I guess they had a record attendance for the Moines Con this year. 10,000 plus at this bad boy here. So it was a very busy convention. It was a 3-day convention. We were there on Saturday for, 3 hours, something like that. I got to be honest, Angie, then you could chime in. There was really nothing as far as the store or the floor, nothing really there for me. There was no celebrities I wanted to meet. There was a lot of artists and, voice actors you usually see at that kind of stuff. I think the big celebrities there were Charlie Cox, was that his name?
Sure.
The Daredevil guy, the guy who plays Daredevil on the Marvel series. The guy that played Luke Cage was there. Michael something or another. He was there. Brandon Routh, I think that's how you say his last name.
I love how you keep looking at me for reference.
She doesn't know. Brandon Routh, I think, was there. I know he was there, but he played Superman in one of the movies. He was there. Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin, was in Full Metal Jacket, a lot of other things. He was supposed to be there, but I think 2 years in a row he canceled last minute. So he hates Moines Con. I think I wouldn't book him again. Shame on him, of course, but there was a lot of cancellations. That's what always happens to these con things, of course. And there's a big Galaxy Con coming in the fall here as well. And I want to go to that because Dr. Z is going to be there. Dr. Zaius himself. And I got to meet Dr. Z. He's also going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, which Angie will not be attending. Maybe next year. We'll see, Angie. We'll see. We got to get you to that one at least one time. We'll see what happens. Could be my final time, the time Angie goes too. We'll see. But we did go to Moines Con. We walked around, checked it out. a lot of cosplay, a lot of anime tables and booths and stuff. Obviously, the artist alley and stuff. Good friend of the channel, Dave Wheeler, was there. We talked to him. I was on the panel with Dave Wheeler. He was down there doing sketch cards, all that kind of stuff. So shout out to Dave Wheeler. Check out the Dave Wonder YouTube channels. Did the panel with him as well. I think I might have mentioned that. We walked around. There was a lot of weapons. A lot of weapons. You had
there
to
was
check
like a
your
table.
weapon.
You had to check your weapon.
Yeah, and they asked Angie to check her weapons right at the table there. She turned around.
I said,
she turned to the front and she said, you check these out.
These do not detach.
These do not detach. That's right. So Angie checked her weapons at the door. It was nice. But we got in there. We walked around. There wasn't really a whole lot for us. There was Min in Box Toys up there from Minnesota. We've done a toy vlog from there. That was the best booth by far for me. That was about really the only one that was all action figures. There was a little dabbling here and there, but for a whole, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't really for action figure people. A lot of photo opportunities, stuff like that. I'm just not into that kind of con life. It's just nothing that really resonates with me. A toy show, I'm here for that. I do like some of the celebrity stuff. There's very few celebrities I want to meet out there, though. Boss Rutan, that's the number one I want to meet, if anybody. You know Boss Rutan, of course.
Yes.
And Dr. Z. So I will go to the one in September just to meet Dr. Z for sure. If I don't meet him at San Diego Comic-Con. But we went around there and there wasn't a whole lot going on. We didn't even get Angie a hot dog in her. We didn't even get that done there. So that was a little disappointing for you too. But
we did.
Yeah, but we did actually. You got a hot dog in the car. I think we went in the back seat and you had one of those. I think that's what she does. She was in the back seat.
Only cost me $1.
And it only cost her $1. I made her pay. I made her pay. No, we did. You had a gas station hot dog. Ooh, even better. Even better. So we did do that. Then I did go to the panel there, and I guess it was, I am by no means a panel expert, but some panels are going to be bigger than others. But the guy at the door said it was like 65 or 68 people at the panel. And that's really good for a lot of these panels, as you can imagine. So there's, it's very niche. And obviously the number one panel of the weekend, I think, was the guy that does Daredevil. And that makes a lot more sense. But it was good. The crowd was engaged. Saw some good friends there. There was people that traveled in for it, so that was pretty cool. And Angie was nice enough to film some of the panel there. And if you watch my toy hunt video, the most recent toy hunt video, you'll see a little bit of that Des Moines Con, a little walk through some of that, and you'll also see a little smidge of the panel there. Also, once again, Dave Wheeler, he has a YouTube channel. He posted the whole panel up there on his YouTube. So if you want to check that out, you can, for whatever reason, if you want to see a little bit more of what we talked about there. But it was fun to do the panel stuff. It's always fun to talk. I love to hear my voice, don't I, Angie? Yeah, I do. I love to hear my voice, apparently. So I talked about that, told some stories and stuff. Unfortunately, my dad wasn't there. I wish Dad would have been there, but he didn't want to come. He said, I'll pass. I don't even think he watched the YouTube video. I don't think he was interested. But yeah, so that was it. That was about Des Moines Con. I mean, we were there probably 3 hours with the panel all involved, all in on that. So it was a good time. It was definitely worth the trip. It was fun to talk to people. It was fun to do the panel and stuff. Obviously not going to be the biggest con. I think San Diego Comic-Con has like 100 and some thousand people through the door for like the 5-6 days of the con, but they were pretty pumped about the Des Moines Con. 10,000 people plus is nothing to sneeze at for sure. So a nice boom to the economy, they were saying on the news. So.
Oh, good.
There you go. So
Just
there's
good, clean fun.
Good,
lots
clean fun.
Lots of anime.
Lots of anime. There wasn't any like really hot chicks walking around either. Sometimes there's the chicks in like bikinis and stuff walking around. There was none of that shenanigans going on, unfortunately. So I think for next year, Angie's going to try to top it all on that one there. We're going to get you the Slave Girl Leia outfit, and you'll wear that one around. That could be. And Angie's like, I've never seen Star Wars. I don't even know what that is.
I know exactly what you're talking
you
about.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Good for you, Angie. Keeping me on.
With the metal bra or whatever.
Yeah, there we go. And I'll dress as Jabba the Hutt.
Gross.
That'll be great. So there it is. There's a little bit of a deeper dive into Des Moines Comic-Con, and we'll probably do another deeper dive in a month or so, and I'll fill you in all about my San Diego Comic-Con trip this year. That should be an all-timer, I'm sure. I can only imagine with a special guest, traveling buddy, Jeff George. I'm going to be worn out. I'm going to need a vacation from the vacation. But Angie, there it is, a deeper dive into Comic-Con. Now, Angie, it's time for a new segment here on the channel. It's going to be Rate It or Hate It.
I'm solid gold. I've got the goods. They stand when I walk through the neighborhoods. I'm making it.
All right, Angie, it's time for a new segment that's going to be sweeping the nation here very, very soon. I'm sure it will be. But it is Rate It or Hate It, where Angie and I deep dive into maybe a music review, maybe a movie review, and maybe a documentary review. And that's what we got here today. Of course, the Pee Wee Herman documentary, Angie, is sweeping the nation. Yes, the nation is riveted by Pee Wee in more ways than one. And Angie, over the last weekend, we did check out the Pee Wee Herman documentary. And Angie and I, we don't like a lot of the same shows. We're about as polar opposite in things.
Mm-hmm.
You like love stories. Angie loves a good period piece. You put like Renaissance people in there and they're playing those crazy music flutes and things. She's all in on that. Period pieces all day long. Am I not mistaken?
Cheesy.
Yeah.
I just like to watch something that I feel like has culture in it, like that I'm learning from.
So
that's why I like it. It's not.
I always say we're exact opposite, because I always say I like to feel like I'm getting dumber when I'm watching something. I like something that just like is mindless entertainment. I don't want to think. I think too much all day long. I don't want to be challenged. I don't want to think about stuff. So we're on the total opposite.
See, as silly as we are, I don't really like watching like comedies and stuff.
No, she's not a comedy
It's weird.
person.
I don't like
I like movies with a lot of comedy, a lot of nudity, a lot of gore, a lot of blood, a lot of heavy metal.
Nope.
That's what
Oh my God, we're totally opposite.
We are 100%
I
opposite.
hate comedy and I hate horror.
But you love nudity. We can agree. We can agree in the middle right there.
I mean,
I see you walk around the house. You have clothes on about 5% of the time around this house. It's wild. It's a wild thing. I'm like, we got to close these blinds.
the neighbors have definitely seen me naked.
The neighbors are like, oh, we know what's going on across the board. The carpet matches the drapes, so there's no carpet. We've got all that kind of stuff going on. So it's a wild time around here, but I enjoy it personally.
even the kids don't even care.
Yeah, the kids don't get. I'm like,
They're like, oh, mom's.
I don't know what I'd be horrified if my mom, when I was a kid, was walking around like that. But Angie, it's just another day at the office. So I'm gonna go outside in the backyard. Well, yeah,
I've always been like that ever since I was a little kid.
There's a neighbor next
nudist.
door.
I need to be in a nudist colony.
She does. And unfortunately, guys, we can't do that on YouTube. They'll shut us down, and podcast is audio. But maybe that OnlyFans, you can finally start that thing, get the feet pictures going on. Yes, you can get it all done.
I do have a naked funny story I can tell sometime.
Oh, we'll save that for story time with Angie. That should be a good one.
It's gonna be like a 2-second story, but it's funny.
Well, you want to share it? It's up to you, or you want to save it?
I'll save it.
She's gonna save it. Oh, keep you coming back. Keep you coming back for episode 12. That's what's gonna happen there. But we were talking about what we like here. So we're polar opposites. So unfortunately for us, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, a lot of couples will sit down, watch movies together. They'll go to movies and stuff. We've never been quite that way. It's usually I'm maybe watching wrestling, editing videos. She's maybe on the other end of the couch going through Instagram or something like that, or whatever you're doing over there.
I'd like to read a book, but I haven't figured out how to because I have to have noise canceling. I'm gonna have some headphones or something.
I'm an amazing multitasker, as most people do. I can watch TV, edit a video, and have a conversation with somebody at the same time. I can do that in my brain. Not Angie. And Angie can't even focus. Like, she's focusing on a book. You can't even talk to her. It's like you got to shake her to get her attention. She's very zoned in. So you might have trouble there. But yeah, we're usually watching that. So there's very few shows we come together on. And the only thing we really come together on is like murder mysteries.
Ducks.
What was the one we were talking about the other day that Jeff George was just riveted by?
Oh, the Sherry Papini.
The Papini. It's like a rapini you get at Jason's Deli, one of those sandwiches, I think. But stuff like that. We like a little that murder, mystery, intrigue, those documentary type stuff. So we will come together on things like that, but that's about it. You don't really enjoy it. You can watch wrestling, but you don't enjoy it. You care less. You're never going to say, hey, pause that while I'm going upstairs real quick. She's never going to say that. That's for sure. So we don't have a lot of stuff, and that's probably good not to, because as much as I would love to have you into all that stuff, I kind of like that you're not into that stuff, because it'd be kind of weird if she's like, hey, are we going to watch Toxic Avenger 2 tonight or what? What are we doing? It would be kind of weird if Angie was doing that. It'd be
like I was like broing out with you.
Yeah, I like you being more girly girl stuff too. It just helps even me out a little bit more. So it's not a bad thing, I don't think. But Angie and I did come together.
One time
this weekend we came together. And it was amazing. And we watched we watched Peewees documentary on HBO Max, whatever they're calling it right now here. And Pee Wee Herman, he stole a lot of hearts back in the 80s, myself included. Of course, I was a Pee Wee kid as well. I was trying to rack my brain to have my first memories of Pee Wee, and I'm not for sure for me what came first. Was it Pee Wee? No, Pee Wee did. What came first for me? Was it the movie, of course, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, or was it the TV show that was, I believe, on CBS Saturday mornings around my parts? That's what I remember watching it. I'm not sure which one I saw first. I'm thinking I saw the Playhouse TV show first, and then I probably rented the VHS or saw it on TV of the movie. That's what I'm guessing. I know for sure I did not see that movie in the theater. Did you see it in the theater?
I couldn't tell you where I saw it, but I have no recollection of the show.
Okay. So
I
she never
only
watched the
remember
show.
that movie.
So it's interesting where you came into your Pee-wee fandom or your Pee-wee
Mhm.
history, whatever it may have been. But for me, I'm pretty sure it was the show, and then I watched the movie. Obviously, for me, the movie holds up a lot better than the show. The show is okay. I don't know. I went back when it first went on streaming or something. Let's say it was 10 years ago or something. I checked it out. But I'm big on like the history of stuff like that. So we did watch the Pee-wee documentary, and I'm sure there was a lot of new stuff in there for you that you had no idea about.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you didn't realize there was life before Pee-wee and there was other stuff and all kinds of things. I remember. But for me, I've always been kind of I don't know if a pop culture aficionado or whatever, but I knew the history of Pee-wee. I knew all about his arrest. I think you knew about one, but not the other.
No, I didn't know.
She didn't know about any of that kind of stuff. Remember, that was big news on the playground when I was a kid. You guys hear about Pee-wee? There was a lot of talk about that on the old playground when I was a kid.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Pee-wee, the ups and downs of stuff, you know. Now, you always have to remember on these documentaries, of course, me being a person that's one class away from a minor in film. Have I told you that before?
Yeah.
One, you know, and documentary was a small part of that. I was more film noir and John Ford Westerns and things like that was more my specialty of my focus.
Clockwork
my
Orange?
focus. Not even that one, but I have
Uh-huh.
seen it. I have seen it. But focusing on that. But there was documentary portion stuff. And one thing about documentaries you always got to remember is a lot of times it's only one side of the story.
Right.
And there's always two sides to the story, of course, as we do know. So, you know, you have to kind of always go into it with that lens. But I think it helped people get to know Pee-wee a little bit more. And I remember as a kid in like the 90s when Pee-wee was doing like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Batman movie, stuff like that. It was very, very strange for me as a kid because he's so
Yeah.
Pee-wee. He's so
Yeah.
defined. It feels weird whenever he's outside of that role. And I'm sure that was a challenge for Pee-wee. As much as he loved Pee-wee, what it brought him, it's also very strange that it pigeonholes
you.
you into something. You're known for only one thing. And I guess you could say the same thing about me. I'm known as an action figure guy, but I'm so much more. Some call me Bread Jesus. Some call me others. Some call me Daddy, and that's Angie. But others. But
Everyone in this house calls you daddy.
maybe.
I got weird.
Maybe. Yeah, it got real weird. Got real weird real quick. But, you know, Pee-wee was a troubled, a tortured soul, maybe, in some ways. I think that's fair enough. And it's interesting, too, his battle with cancer. They talked about in that documentary for, like, the last 6 years he was fighting cancer or something. And it's, I don't know, it's always weird because I always think about that myself, too. Like, if I was fighting cancer or I was fighting AIDS, if I was fighting the AIDS virus right now, like a young Magic Johnson, wait, he's got HIV. We
Like
saw
his
that
partner.
South.
His partner died of AIDS.
Oh,
in the
Magic's
doc.
partner?
No, Peewees.
Oh, Pee-wee's. Yeah, that's right. Oh, hard times for Pee-wee in more ways
He's
than one.
lucky that he didn't get it.
He's lucky.
He must
That's
have
true.
contracted it out.
But I always think I'd probably be like Pee-wee, and I don't think I'd tell anybody. I'd try to keep it all under wraps. I'd just go away. I don't necessarily want all that sympathy. I don't think.
Especially, it wasn't obvious.
No,
I mean, he
it
didn't
wasn't.
look sick at all.
Until that last voice recording at
Oh,
the
yeah.
end where he was pretty rough, you could tell. But I could understand that, Pee-wee. You don't want a bunch of people coming at you, just being like, oh, poor Pee-wee, poor Pee-wee. I get that, too. So a little double-edged sword, but a conflicted life for Pee-wee. But, man, he was amazing as a kid. Big Top Pee-wee is where I kind of started to lose interest as a little kid for Pee-wee. Do you even remember that one?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that good. But it was interesting. One thing I guess I didn't know from the documentary was how he grew up part of his life in Florida around like the circus and stuff. So you could tell that really impacted that. So that was why he went Big Top Pee-wee. So I would love to see a movie like this done on one Ernest P. Worrell, Jim Varney. Do you know Ernest P. Worrell?
Yes.
Oh, Ernest was my favorite. If you had to say Kyle, Pee-wee, or Ernest as a little kid, because I loved watching Ernest as well.
Yeah, me too.
I was all in on Ernest. Ernest was my man. I loved Ernest. And I got a crazy story about Ernest when he dies. And I'm going to save that for story time with Kyle one of these days. Or maybe when they finally do that Ernest documentary. Better yet, Angie, maybe you and I need to finance and do an Ernest documentary.
Oh, God.
Maybe that's time. He had those funny character friends of him, the guy with the no teeth. And oh, man. Sign me up for
So
Ernest P.
much.
Worrell all day long. But I love Ernest. But I love Pee-wee as well. But Pee-wee and I lost touch for a while, just like you and Pee-wee too. But it was a good documentary. It was a little bit long, and it felt a little bit rushed in parts for me. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, they probably, because he died, had to really like clock it together.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess, kind of.
I don't know
But they really went fast from the movie to the show. Like the first part ended where he was getting financing and getting the movie all set up. And Angie bowed out for about the last 10 minutes of the first part, if you remember right. So she missed that, but she didn't really miss anything in that point. But I think they could have talked a little bit about the movie a little bit more, maybe, and a little bit more into the show. There was a lot of stuff, obviously, in the back half, the second part, about some of his legal troubles, which I don't want to drain through all that kind of stuff there. But all in all, like a lot of things, there's very few things. I don't know, Angie, if you're this way or not. I don't watch things multiple times. I just don't watch things multiple times. I have so many things I want to watch, listen to, and read. I just feel like I don't have time to go back and revisit it because I'm missing out on something new I could have seen. So very few movies in my life I've watched multiple times. I can probably count them on one hand. However, I guess I contradict myself because I'm a kid who didn't really like to watch movies. I liked sitcoms, TV shows from classic stuff like the Nick at Night stuff as a little kid. I've seen every episode of the Brady Bunch probably 50 times. I've seen every episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon about 50 times. So I got a lot of that kind of stuff. But long story short, Angie, I'm getting going. Do you watch do you watch shows numerous times? Do you watch them multiple times?
No, I mean, unless they're like 80s, 90s music or movies I grew up on.
You listen to a lot of the same songs a lot
I like
of
to
times.
rewatch and be like, is it still as good as I remember? Like have that moment, but no, not like over and over. Not like Emma.
How many times?
I think that's like an ADHD thing if you
Maybe.
can watch things like over and over and over again.
I don't know. How many times have you listened to the song Bouncy by a Tease?
Oh, too many.
See, that's what I'm saying. You listened to 1,000 times. I've had to have heard it 100 times.
What's the kid?
It's the theme of the summer. We're getting
I
bouncy around
I
here.
don't look it up.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think you're playing it, but I don't watch a lot of movies. It's just a movie is an investment in time, and it better be good if you're going to get an hour and a half to 3 hours of my time. And the Peewee documentary was good. I watched it once. I would never watch it again. Would you ever?
No.
And very few documentaries. The one that sticks out for me that I've watched probably 5 times in my life, and I've watched it in bits and pieces, is the Lemmy documentary. You want a good documentary? Check out the Lemmy one. That's an all-timer if there ever was one. I think
Is that where he was eating all the blueberries?
No, not that one. Not that one. He was making some chips though in his kitchen, and maybe one day we'll get Jeff George on the channel, and he could tell his story about the time he went up to Lemmy's apartment and hung out with Lemmy for the night. Man, I was riveted. I was on the edge of my seat when he was telling me that story. So love those stories from Late Nights at the Rainbow from one Jeff George. So one day he'll be in town and he'll be the guest co-host, and we'll do some of that kind of stuff too. But so now I guess we're going to do the rate it part of course Pee-wee. I wouldn't say I hated it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was worth a watch for me. You're probably in the same boat. It was worth it for you. But we're going to rate it out of 5 because that's what we rate on the food scale. So we might as well do that same thing with this here. Let's rate the Pee-wee documentary out of 5. And of course, ladies first. It's a ladies first channel podcast. Angie, what are you going to give it out of 5?
I'll give it a 3.
3. That's where I'm at. I'm right there at a 3, maybe a high 3 at that end. To me, on my scale, I don't know if your scale would be the same. 5 would be something I would say, the way I view stuff, if it was a 5, I'm going to watch this again. That's what I would say. There's very few things that would ever hit a 5 for me. Obviously 1 would be terrible. 3, kind of right in the middle. I'd say upper middle. As far as documentaries go, it was worth the time. And I love Pee-wee's kind of dry sense of humor. Was that what it would be when he was doing the interviews and he would talk about stuff? That was pretty funny. I
You'd be like, am I? I don't know.
Am I? I don't know. You tell me. I like that a whole lot with people.
I was shocked how in the closet he was. I never knew that about him. Like,
yeah,
because I never for a second thought he was straight.
Oh,
like
really?
Ever seeing him.
Yeah.
He comes off very flamboyant to me.
I never thought of it the other way.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird.
Because I feel like a lot of his trouble was that he was so closeted and just felt like he couldn't be himself because he thought it would like ruin his career, and so that was like sad. Kind of a sad part of it.
Yeah, he had like the fake girlfriend. I forget what her name was. It's kind of what you're here for. my fake wife.
Jeff's your real true love.
Yeah,
Jeff George.
Blow him a kiss. There you go.
Oh my god.
Who knows? Well, there it is. Rate or hate it. We're both kind of in the middle. Be interested to hear your thoughts on the old Pee-wee documentary. A lot of people have seen it, so I'm sure there'll be a thought or two along the way. But Angie, now it's time. We're going to cohesive glue this together a little bit. It's time for the figure of the week. All right, Angie, it's time for Figure of the Week. And Figure of the Week, I'm a little bit conflicted right here. Like I said, it does relate to the last segment here. As Figure of the Week this week, we're going to NECA. We're going to the Ultimate Edition. We're going to the Ultimate Pee-wee Herman figure. Now, I unboxed this on the channel, Angie, and I think, Didn't you find this for me? I think I called you to a store and said they had it, and I think you picked it up for me.
Maybe.
I think that was the case. And of course, it was part of the Target Haul-a-thon, available everywhere else, I think, now. And if you want to check out the review, of course, search my name. That's what I always tell everybody. Search my name, search what you're looking for. You'll find the figure review of it. I did do the Pee-wee review, and this is going to be a little bit of kind of after the review, after dark with Pee-wee. That sounds kind of interesting.
Did you throw him under the bus or what?
I liked the figure a whole lot, but one thing that, so I liked it as I was reviewing it. Now, I don't think I need cheaters yet. I wouldn't say that, but I will say under the glamour shots, it gets like a very, you get more than meets the eye out of that because it's the camera, it's closer in. I am not a huge fan of the head sculpts on this Pee-wee, but one thing I'll say, when we were watching the documentary, he did kind of have some rosy cheeks as Pee-wee, kind of like some blush or something like that.
For sure.
So it looks weird, but then you go back and you look, it looks a little bit better than I thought it did. So what was funny is I liked it a whole lot as I'm doing the unboxing. I'm taking the glamour shots, and obviously this is after the review. I'm like, a little too cakey, a little too weird in the face. But then watching the documentary made me remind this is correct. So there is that there. So I wanted to have a little follow-up there.
Definitely had a full face on of makeup. Yep. I want to peek at him.
Be careful, because that's where I'm going to get to throwing this under the bus, unfortunately. Here.
Oh, I feel it.
The head. His neck peg, I tried to take the head off for the first time. Now, of course, in the reviews, I go through everything. We go through the heads, but then the glamour shots, you move it around stuff. And sometimes things go unfortunate a little bit. And I went to move the head, bam, cracked the neck peg, broke right off. So I'm missing a neck peg for Pee-wee.
Oh, is that the one that went down the sink?
And then it went down. I was working on it, trying to get it, and it went down the sink. So even worse on that one there. So very disappointing in the quality on this Pee-wee. Obviously, okay, heat up your joints, but you shouldn't have to heat your joints up. We say that all the time. So very disappointing on this Pee-wee. I really want to get another Pee-wee, but is it worth buying another one just for this? I could put a little blue tack in there. I could stick it in there.
Let me look at his face.
It's weird when you look really close to the face, you get those rosy cheeks.
I also thought it was weird that they said didn't they say at some point he had fake teeth that he wore?
Yeah, I think he had fake teeth. So, I don't know. But anyways, either way, I was very disappointed in the structure. Obviously, as we always say, when things break on the channel, I'm going to be real about it. I'm going to tell people about it. But I always do say, your mileage may vary. Just because mine broke doesn't mean yours is going to break, and vice versa.
It's funny I was looking at it over there. I thought it looked like he had no neck.
Yeah,
I was like, why does he have no neck?
He's missing just a little bit of the neck because the neck peg went there. Now, Angie, somebody's going to comment in the comments here, and I'll probably end up taking this to a good friend of the channel. We've mentioned him a few times, old Dave Wheeler, Dave Wonder. He's my action figure surgeon. When I go up to Minnesota for work, I'll drive by and say, Dave, I got a stack of stuff. Could you help me out and fix some of these for me? He fixed Shira Mondo figure for me. He's done it a few times. I'm sure he can figure. It's probably not that hard to get some kind of peg in there. I probably even have another action figure sitting in a parts bin I could grab a peg out of or something. So it's not the end of the world, but it's still not fun when you pay $38 for a figure and it breaks on you. It's not a good day at the office. It's definitely not for me. I work too hard for my money, and it drives me nuts when things that are supposed to be a stress relief stress me out and fire me up. I hate it. I hate it. So figure of the week, I figured we talked about the documentary, figured it went well with this Pee-wee here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the figure of the week. But now, Angie, it's time for another favorite segment of the channel. This is one you're going to shine at, but I'm going to take a little of that shine this week. Angie, it's time to try new foods because they might taste good.
We can try a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. We gotta try new food because they might taste good.
All right, Angie, it's time to try new foods because they might taste good. But this one I came through on this week here. Angie's usually keeping her. You're keeping. Angie's scared already. We're not even there. You'll try anything once, Angie. I know that about you. I know that about you. But Angie, this week, this is something I grabbed on the road because I'm a man about town, man of the people, man of many travels, of course, for my day job. And I was at a gas station, as you do at a gas station, and somebody, I think, asked the question to me. Maybe it was in the traditional YouTube channel for Question of the Week, but what is your favorite road snack? Oh, I know. It was my Patreon exclusive monthly Q&A, and one of the questions was, Kyle, what's your favorite road snack?
Jerky.
Yes, and Angie loves jerky as well, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you dabble, but I love jerky. I always get a jerky on the road. That's usually what I get. And
if it's
of
in
course,
a bag. If it's in a bag, I feel like stuff like this ends up tasting like.
Don't tip it off yet.
This will be okay, but I feel like it.
We're getting a jerky. Here,
I'm not a beef stick girl.
Oh yeah, you are. You take it.
Crazy.
You take all 12 inches. That's for sure of a beef stick. I've seen you on it. I've seen you. I've seen you. But Angie, today we're going to talk a little bit of beef jerky, but a little bit off the beaten path. And when I'm hitting a lot of these truck stops, gas stations, whatever, there's always local beef jerky. And that always gets me excited. Oh, a new local beef jerky. In Wisconsin, a lot of beef jerky up there. I was up there earlier. A lot of stuff to see. A lot of new frozen pizzas, a lot of new jerky.
A lot of cheese
I'm
curds.
here. I'm jerking it all over Wisconsin trying to get this here. All over Angie. It's just a mess a lot of times. There's a lot of cleanup. But I'm always excited for some new jerky. And that's what gets us here today. Angie, what do we have today?
Buffalo Bob's alligator jerky.
Buffalo Bob's
Does
alligator
it have
jerky.
a flavor? Oh, thank God.
What is it flavored?
Barbecue.
Oh, I love barbecue jerky. That's one of my favorites, so that should be good. But Angie, have you ever had sweet alligator meat before?
I don't think I have.
So
The kids had it, I think.
one
Didn't you?
time, Elle and I went to a wrestling show, and there was a restaurant next door, and they were serving alligator, and we had the alligator. I've had it a few times, and they always say it tastes just like chicken. It really does just taste like chicken,
Oh, thank
especially
God.
the way they make it. You know, it's like a chicken nugget. And I remember my daughter Elle, she even admitted that if I wouldn't have told her it's alligator, she would have thought it was chicken nuggets or whatever like
Is
that.
it
So
pure alligator too, or do they probably mix? People
I
probably
think
mix
that
it.
was pure alligator over there. And in this one, we got, now this isn't even pure alligator. It says ingredients: alligator, beef, pork, salt, spices, brown sugar, molasses, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, celery powder.
Perfect.
And it's made from Berrien Springs, Michigan. And Michigan, of course, known for their alligators up there in Michigan, I think. So you better watch out. No MSG, gluten-free. I don't know. So here's my guess, being a guy with a bit of a grocery background. I bet you there's about 5% alligator in this thing.
Good.
And I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of alligator in this. They said, okay, we got one alligator.
It does look different.
We're going to make 10,000 sticks out of this one alligator, or 100,000 sticks or something, because pork and beef in here, they're mixing it all up. But a lot of jerky is mixed. There's a lot of people that get like deer jerky and they'll mix it with other things. So long story short, let's see what this
Our long story long.
gator meat tastes like and give it a smell.
Smells like normal, doesn't it?
Kind of. Ooh, it's extra slimy.
Ew, I gotta say that.
It is extremely slimy.
Oh, I hate it.
Oh,
Mystery.
there it
meat.
is. Very floppy. It's not a hard jerky.
It looks like
See you later.
that fruit.
Yeah, it looks like a fruit
What are they called?
stripe or...
Yeah. I forget
All
what they're
right.
called.
Well, Angie, we're going to try this. We're going to rate this out
Let's
of
fight
5.
it each from one end. No, it doesn't. It tastes like totally normal.
Tastes like normal jerky. You taste barbecue. It's very slimy.
Yeah, I would never know that it has alligator in it if I didn't tell me.
Nobody
Well,
would. No.
it's got a weird thing at the end that kind of tastes off, but it could be the spices.
The taste you're tasting at the end tastes just like Jack Link's barbecue beef jerky.
It's just kind of the smoke or what?
I wish it had a little bit more spice to it, which it's not spicy, it's barbecue, but I don't even know if I could tell you this is barbecue without...
Was it expensive?
I want to say it was like $3 or $3.99 or something, which I don't know.
That's pretty average. Jerky's usually pretty expensive, but I don't know if because the gator was in it, it'd be like a little more.
I think Gator was a marketing tactic with this
yeah,
one.
for sure.
And they had a bunch of other stuff. They had like elk and armadillo, or I don't know. They had a bunch of other ones, and Gator stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't a new item either, Angie. Well, it could be. I don't know, but we didn't see anything new at the stores this week. So we said, hey, we got a stockpile of stuff we've never tried before that we can also try if we don't see something brand new. And that's where the jerky came in here. But what are you thinking out of 5, Angie, if you had to rate it?
I don't. 3. I mean, I wouldn't put it low. It doesn't taste bad. It just tastes
No, I
like
guess you
every
got to
other
think.
thing you've
Would you ever pick this up? You
No.
never in a million years would. So you
But
never try this
I
again.
wouldn't pick it up anyway.
So 3 seems high, but it's your list. So I'm gonna go.
Well, because it tastes good. I don't want to give it a bad rating because it's gross.
I'm going a 2 on this because I think there's better jerkies out there that are more flavorful and stuff. I think this is all gimmick. It's all show, no go. That's what it is. It's all show, no go is what's going on right here. Fine for what it is. I could eat this, no problem. I could eat this every single day. But I'd rather pay $1 more for a Jack Link's barbecue that gives me more. It's a thicker slice and there's more to it. So I'd probably be
Round.
at that. Yeah. So not terrible, worth the try, not the end of the world. It doesn't taste like gator, I can tell you that at all. Just tastes like a normal beef jerky. So
Yeah,
it
the
is what it
texture's
is.
not even different. I thought maybe it would be kind of
Yeah.
like
So nothing. So I'm going 2.
Tougher
She's
or
going
something.
3. I mean, we're pretty much in the same ballpark, and I don't think we're buying this again. But it's fun to try this kind of stuff every once in a while. So there it is. That's to try new foods because it might taste good. But Angie, now we got another segue. It's time for the album of the week. All right, Angie, it's time for album of the week. And album of the week this week is a special one you're just going to be over the moon for, and probably you never heard of. And this one comes from an artist, a classic country western artist, and it relies a little bit on what we talked about. It's the episode of Segways is what we should call this. Segways across the board. The only thing we're missing is the little Segway you scoot around in outside. But we're going to talk a little bit about a little Cajun stuff. Of course, alligator meat, going into a little bit of guy from down from Louisiana way. We're going down to Jerry Reed. You know Jerry Reed?
Yes.
Eastbound and down. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. How about a little Amos Moses? We're going to the album The Essential Jerry Reed. And if you ask me and you ask a lot of people, who's the greatest guitar player of all time? You hear people say Eddie Van Halen. You hear people say Jimi Hendrix. I think Angie says Taylor Swift is the greatest guitarist of all time.
I say Jeff George.
Jeff George, there you go. Eric Clapton's of the world. There's a lot of great guitarists. I think we can all agree on that. But I do feel guys like Jerry Reed are very much looked over in the grand pantheon of great guitarists. They usually go to the flashy rock ones there. But Jerry Reed could do all that stuff if he wanted to, and he could do a whole lot more than that. One of the absolute greatest guitarmen I've ever seen in my life. Just how fast he could go, the different stuff he could do. Just so many amazing songs. And that's why I'd start with The Essential, Jerry Reed. As much as I'd love to deep into all his 100 albums or whatever, The Essential gets you pretty much where you want to go, and you can go from there. There's a lot of good Jerry Reed stuff. Of course, most people know about Eastbound and Down and things like that as well. But there's a lot of fun stuff on that. And that's an album I got back in high school that I still bust out from time to time here. And I was thinking of Amos Moses, and I was thinking about the alligator jerky. And I said, let's just go to the swamp. Let's tie these ones in together here. And we're going to go Jerry Reed as the album of the week. I don't know if Angie's got a whole lot to add to that Jerry Reed stuff. I don't think. No, I don't think so. You like the Snowman, though. He's a favorite of yours. And I got a Jerry Reed shirt I wear around every once in a while. And I always get a lot of compliments on it, which always warms my heart that people remember the great Jerry Reed. So shout out to Jerry Reed. Shout out to the album of the week. Shout out to Angie, my co-host over here. But Angie, now it's time to get into another one. It's time for Tales from Retail. All right, Angie, it's time for Tales from Retail, but we could also call this Story Time with Kyle. It kind of walks that line. Yeah. Well, like a young Johnny Cash, we're keeping it country. Once again, Segway, the word of the day. We should just do the Pee Wee Herman, Pee-wee's Playhouse, where they scream when it's the word of the day. The word of the day is Segway, is what it should be. But here we are today, and we're going to talk, like I said, a little bit of Story Time with Kyle, a little bit of Tales from Retail. And what we're talking about here today is first ever jobs. Now, Angie, I'm going to go to you first. Ladies First Channel, Ladies First Podcast, of course. Angie, what was your first ever job that you did? Like, not had to mow the yard or something like that. Your first job, you could have been any age, and I'll get to mine here, but where did you go to where you actually did something and got money or another service, of course, you know? Some say I'm just a gigolo.
Definitely working for like an egg company.
Egg company?
Egg, like agriculture. So
ag company. I thought egg. I'm like, what are you doing with eggs?
So detasseling, stuff
Oh,
like that.
yes. I remember now detasseling, that brings back, I've never detasseled a day in my life, of course, but I remember like 7th grade, 8th grade, it'd be the end of the school year. They'd pass out all these flyers. We're looking for kids. We'll bus you in. You parents drop you off. They bus you all in together. You detassel all day. I always heard there was good money in detasseling.
Yeah. My mom worked for Asgrow, which became Monsanto.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like our whole thing growing up. We
So
would
you
get
had
in,
to
spray the beans. Yep.
Did your sisters do it too, I'm assuming?
I don't really remember them doing it.
Oh, just you?
But I was more the more athletic one, so like I like doing stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you're basically you're a generation behind Caitlin Clark, of course.
You keep
and
trying to put me behind a computer, and I'm just trying to be out in the field.
She's going to be out in the field more ways than one, and I'm going to plow those fields a little bit later. That's what's going to happen, of course. But Angie's like a young
I'm a
Caitlin Clark,
hands-on.
of course. You know, Caitlin Clark, a Hawkeye, you a Hawkeye for a brief moment in time. We don't like that. We're a Cyclone family over here, but Angie somehow was a Hawkeye briefly, and maybe that's another story time with Angie in the future. We'll see. We'll talk about your basketball skills. We'll get into it. But the tasseling. So that's something I have never done. And is that where you like take the top off the corn stalk and you throw it in the air or something? Is that what you do? You like throw it in the ground and it helps like regrow? What is it?
I don't even know.
It's something like that. I don't know. But I remember everybody saying it was horrible because it was muddy and it was hot. You were just
Bugs.
absolutely disgusting at the end of the day. And you probably get some of those like silkworms.
And you couldn't even get a good tan either because
No,
you had
'cause
to
you're
do long.
blocked.
Well, you had to do long sleeves.
Yeah, because you get cut by the stalks and stuff. Yeah, that's why they have all these little kids slave labor. And I'm sure they do that out in the country. They sure do. But
Oh, yeah.
it's funny you say that because it just like a memory came flashing back to me in like 7th and 8th grade where they put this home. Take this home to your parents. Let's get some kids slave labor. But I do remember kids getting paid really well to do that. And I was like, man, those kids. Which leads me into my first job. And this isn't really a job, but even when I was like, I remember as a little kid in the summers, you know, it's totally different nowadays, as we've talked about, but I'd get on my bicycle and I'd meet up with friends or I wouldn't meet up with friends. And it would be, you know, I'd be up at, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd be on my bicycle riding all over town and I'd be home at like 6, 7 o'clock at night. Who knows where I was? And maybe I was taking my baseball bag. We were going to have a pickup game of baseball, basketball, video games, different, whatever we might be doing. Well, first thing I remember though was there was a car wash by my house, not too far. There was also a grocery store, which I guess gives little tales from retail. And I later worked at that grocery store, but they had like 50 different paper machines, old school paper machines out front with the coin returns and all that. I would go to the car wash, and there was another car wash I'd hit, and then I'd hit those coin returns, and there'd be a couple of gas stations that had stuff. And I would, every single day, I would drive to the car wash because people putting quarters in the car wash, the automatic, they'd leave quarters on the top and forget about it. So I'd go to each stall looking for quarters, looking at the change return stuff, grab whatever I could find there.
Pushing the little button.
And then I'd go to the gas stations and then the big grocery store, and I'd go back and forth and I'd hit each one to see, if I could get some change and stuff. And one of these days, we'll talk about like I hit a slot machine at one of those. It was absolutely amazing. That'll be a great story down the road. But I did usually find some stuff. And back then, of course, you get a pack of cards for $2. You get a drink for 25 cents, whatever it may be.
You were missing out. You should have hit the laundromat.
We didn't have those.
Oh.
We didn't have those around my neck of the woods.
I always found quarters at the laundromat.
You were just living out in the country. Everybody over at the old laundromat, but we had them in our house. We were different over there in the big
College,
city.
you dork.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, even in college, I had them in my things. But
Oh, fancy.
bougie over here. So I would do that, and I don't know if that was a real job, but then I would also collect cans along the way, and I would pick up cans. Of course, in my area, 5 cents for pop cans. So
You sound homeless right now.
kinda. I'm kind of like a young from your small town. There was a guy called Dan the Can Man.
Yes.
I was like the modern day Dan the Can Man. But I would go around and I'd collect cans too because you're foraging. You're a little kid. It's like no different than being out in the Old West. You're foraging. You're foraging, trying to find stuff, trying to feed your family. And I'm trying to get that crazy bread for a bag for like $1 back then. That's what you were doing. And you think my dad was leaving money for me? No. Every once in a while he'd have change, but my dad's not leaving change around the house. And there'd be kids stealing money out of the wallets. I would never do that kind of stuff. Every once in a
Nobody
while,
has cash anymore.
every once in a while, though, my dad would probably float me like a $5 bill or a couple of dollars or something. I'm sure he would do that. But I was foraging for cans and stuff, and I collected a lot of cans. And I was lucky. My dad, we moved quite a few times as a kid, but it was like the same area. It's like we moved to a new housing development. They're building new houses now a couple miles down the road. 5 years have passed. Let's move to these new houses. So we just kept going west, moving into new houses.
They get bored easily, your parents.
They do.
They always switch out their furniture
Yeah.
and they always switch out their cars.
They do. And I can't even keep track of their cars. They switch cars all the time. They switch furniture all the time.
Every time we go there, we're like, what?
And then they switched houses, but they've slowed that down. But when I was a kid, we moved quite a few times, and it wasn't like we moved far away. Same school district, stuff like that, for the most part. And but we'd always be like the first house in the block, and then they'd build all the other houses later. the great thing for me was I'd go and get all these cans from all these houses. So I was going in and out of these houses. It was crazy how many beer cans you would pick up. And these guys are construction workers, just all these beer cans in there and things like that. I remember one day just finding a bunch of dollar bills like strewn throughout, and I'm picking it up. Looking good, like I was at the club or something. Who knows? But I was getting all these cans, and I'd take all these cans, of course. And then later, I guess I got paid back because when I started as a 14-year-old at a grocery store, I had to do the cans a lot of times. And now, gross. But I would collect cans and do all that kind of stuff. But my first ever job came to me at 12 years old. And it was a wild job, Angie, let me tell you. So, of course, you can still start. But I started the grocery stores at 14. But I started my first official, I would call this official, at 12 years old. And it was for a lawn company. A lawn company, you guys know, you've been around, if wherever you live, there's lawn companies that'll treat your yard. They'll, do your yard maintenance, whatever it may be. They paid kids and they put a little advertisement there. I jumped at it. It was during the summertime. And all I had to do is they dropped like 10,000 of them off at my house. And I had, here's your neighborhoods. No different than a paper route and stuff. Now, we'll talk about it on the channel one of these days, but Johnny Gosh, the most famous paperboy of all time, of course. I think they made a video game after him called Paperboy on Nintendo, I think. Maybe not. Maybe a different kind of paperboy. But he was kidnapped not too far from where I lived. If you don't know the Johnny Gosh story, look it up. That's going to be a story time with Kyle one of these days on the channel because lived it. It was right in my area. So I'll talk all about that. I'll give you all the real details on all that. But I didn't want to do paperboy because the bad thing about delivering papers, I always thought was this house has the paper, this one doesn't, this one doesn't. And then these people are going to complain. Oh, the paper didn't get here. It didn't get here till 9 a.m. I like to drink my coffee at 6 a.m. Even as a little 12-year-old kid, I knew the shenanigans around the paper. I said, I don't want to be a part of the paper route. So what I did instead was I did this lawn care company, and it was these little flyers you put on somebody's doorknob. And you walk there. They're trying to drum up business, and you'd have this area, and you'd walk up, and you'd do all that.
The thing we hate.
Yes, yeah, we hate it, but I never had to knock on the door and talk to people.
Right.
And I asked them. There was a guy that just came to the door trying to get like bug repellent or something in our house, and I said, "Well, can I get this for free?" And I was just playing with the kid, and I told the kid, I said, "I respect your hustle. I respect what you're doing. Good for you getting out after they're trying to hustle, but I don't want any piece of this." And I said, "Can you give it to me for free?" And I was putting through his paces to see what kind of a salesman he was. I almost gave him my business card, but we talked about that, and then. I said, go back to your boss. And I said, I'll plug you on the pod. How about we plug you on the podcast?
The kids were dying in the living room.
They were laughing.
Listening to this.
I was going crazy on this guy. But then he was all in. He subscribed to the YouTube. So shout out, guy. But
shout out, long guy.
The good thing, the only thing I remember about this kid was his last name was Peterson. I said, man, good brother. Like
that's our people.
You're my people, though. And then, of course, Angie, we go away, and about 2 minutes later, we get the doorbell ringing again. It's him again. I'm like, Mr. Peterson, what are you doing? He's like, man, I hate to ask this, or I forget what he said, but it's really hot out here. Do you got a drink? And I said, normally I wouldn't give anybody a drink, but I said, since you got the same last name as me, hold on a second. And I went and got him a bottle of water. Did I not?
Yes.
I did get him a bottle of water. So I said, this Peterson's got to stick together. And the first thing I asked him, too, I said, O-N or E-N? And he said O-N. I said, that's the magic word, buddy. And I put my arm around him. I said, you're all right with me.
If he was a Kyle, you would have had to give him a monster.
I would have hooked him. I would have hooked him in. He would have been the new co-host of the show if we had the same name. God. The Kyle Peterson and Kyle Peterson show would have been amazing, of course. But I did give him a water, and I said, man, that's for you. And I said, us O-Ns got to stick together. We don't like those E-Ns. There's a lot of feud there, of course. So I gave him, I was like, I appreciate you, what you're doing here. I don't think you're going to have any luck on this, and it's a whole rigmarole, but good for you, kid. Hustling out there. Not enough kids hustling these day and age. But I did do that, and when I handed these things on the doorknobs, I got paid 1 penny a piece.
Wow. That's
what they gave us. So it was really cool, whatever it was its thing. However, in a plot twist, then I saw there was a newspaper. I talked about I didn't want anything to do with these newspapers. I don't want to remember which house is which, and I don't want to have to be a slave to the grind like a young Skid Row, Sebastian Bach, Snake Sabo, pick your poison there. There was a thing called the Shopper, and maybe you have the Shopper here. We don't have it anymore. It's gone away, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, everybody got it.
It was like a little mini newspaper with like maybe your couple of local articles, but it was mainly coupons and things like that. So that's mainly what it was, and everybody got one. So I was cool with that. Okay, everybody gets one. I can do that. It goes to every single house. And, I'm trying to think how I did it. I think I did it in a backpack. So I filled my backpack, and I had 4 different kind of like groups, and I'd just go back home and I'd fill my backpack, and I'd just basically pay them. I'd just be rifling these things off from the sidewalk there. And there was a lot of shenanigans with this place, and it still eats my soul alive because I remember they called our house and I think later on I figured this out, or maybe my dad probably clued me in on it more likely, but they were like, hey, we've got some reports that some of you guys with the shopper are dumping them all down like the sewage drain and not really delivering them. We're watching you guys out there. I'm like, okay. And I never for a second thought about doing anything like that. I was like, I'm going to get after it. I'm hitting every single house. And I was all in. I was not cheating the system or anything like that. And I was very offended at about 13 years old when I took the shopper. 12 years old landscaping, 13-year-old shopper thing. And I was very offended they said that to me. So I was pretty upset about that. And then I stopped doing that once I did get the grocery store job the day I turned 14. And then off to the races after that. But wild times delivering that thing. But I liked that it was monotonous. That's what I like. I didn't have to think. It kind of goes back to my TV watching. I don't have to think about it. I just chuck it. Here's a house. Here's a house. Here's a house. Bam, bam, bam. Be a perfect job for my kids if they still had that kind of thing. That would be a good start for them, but they don't want to start. That's the problem. They don't want to start. They got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. So that was fun, but I think I got paid a nickel for each one of those. So that was a heck of an increase from a penny, and it was a lot easier to just throw them instead of having to walk up to the door, putting the little thing on, hooking it on there, and moving on. And then sometimes somebody would walk out of their house and, oh, hey, what do you got? I got this. I don't care about it. I'm just dropping these off. I'm not the salesman. That's what I wanted to be like. I'm 12 years old. Leave me alone. I'm just dropping these things off. But you're not allowed, like the shopper and that, you're not allowed to put it in the mailbox. That's like against the law or something. So there was a lot of shenanigans. There's shenanigans and everything anymore. I hate it. I hate the shenanigans. I hate it. Unless they go my way. What was
your accuracy of hitting that porch? Were you doing pretty
good?
Oh,
100%. 100%. You kidding me? That was great.
Didn't even have to stop the bike?
I don't know. No, I didn't bike.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think I would have been very good on the bike throwing.
But you had to hang the toggle too, or whatever you call it. So
for that, but the shopper was throw like a newspaper.
Oh, so you wouldn't do both at once?
No, they were separate jobs.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that would have been good if you could have done both at once.
Oh, double
You're making
whammy.
6 cents.
Oh, that would have been great. That never even crossed my mind. I think I quit that job to take this job. Yeah. I should have done that though, but now I'm just thinking about all these pennies I missed out.
Yeah, you did.
How am I going to make that money up? I got to figure out a way. I always got to figure those things out. I don't know, but that's the tale of really my first ever jobs. And Angie, a detasseler, me, just a song and dance man, continues on. That's why I told everybody at the Moines Con, I said, explain yourself. And I said, really, guys, I just want to let everybody know I'm just a song and dance man. That's what I said. That's how I introduced myself. And everybody looked at me like, oh my gosh, he's going to stand up and he's going to sing and dance. And I did. So there it is, Angie. That is a little story time / Tales from Retail. I don't know how you call it on that one there. But now, Angie, it is time. It is time for some final thoughts. All right, Angie, it's time for our final thoughts here as we close up the episode. Finish up this chapter of episode number 11 of the Kyle Peterson Show. And Angie, we got a little viewer mail here. And of course, you want to be viewer mail, send it to the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com, of course, if you got a question there. Or you can put it in the YouTube comments. And of course, don't forget to rate the review 5 stars wherever you listen to the audio podcast. And even if you do the video podcast, find the audio one somewhere, give it the old 5-star. And of course, we always say, if you want to sponsor the channel, hit up the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com once again. But Angie, we got a little question of the week this week. Angie, take it away from here.
Okay, Michael Scarborough, 5726. Congratulations on 10th episode. Angie and Kyle, I'm sitting in bed post-surgery recovering from torn bicep. My future.
That is your future.
What is your movie or show marathon recommendation?
Oh, and it's funny. And once again, we should scream like Pee-wee. It is Segway once again, as kind of we talked about a little bit about that kind of stuff and what we like to watch and things. So very fitting question this week here. I guess, Angie, you could start. It's a ladies' first channel.
Oh, gosh.
What is, I guess you could say Pee-wee even. You could say, well, watch that Pee-wee documentary. I guess that would be the first one we'd talk about here. You want me to jump in with some?
Show I rewatch sometimes is House, that one with the doctor or whatever.
Never seen it.
I love that one.
Yeah.
And then movie, probably like, I don't know, Harry Potter?
I saw the first ever Harry Potter. I saw the first one ever at the theater. I took my little sister when she was little, and I've never seen it again. So maybe I'll check out the Potter. I'll be on Harry Pothead is what I'll be. Who knows?
I'm trying to think.
What else do you like? Is that it? Pretty much?
I watched Grey's Anatomy for years, but I've quit watching. It's too much. There's like 20 seasons.
When Calls the Heart, you loved that one.
Again, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. I don't know. For me, for TV shows like wrestling, I watch a lot of that, obviously. But Expedition Unknown, Destination Truth. I always like those kind of things. Like Monster Quest was a show back in the day. I love the hairy bipedal creatures. I love all that kind of stuff. I love the paranormal UFOs. I love the UFC stuff too. The Ultimate Fighter. How about that one? But I like stuff like that, of course. I also like a lot of terrible horror movies, like exploitation movies and stuff about zombies and just terrible movies. I love stuff like that. I love like Fulci movies stuff and Argento movies. And Angie's like, you're speaking a different language to me. I like some of the Giallo films. You ever watched a good Giallo film? Maybe I'll introduce you to one of those one of these days here. I like to watch stuff like that. But I don't know, a good show to watch as you're recovering from bicep surgery. Boy, that's Angie's future. You're going to tear that bicep one of those days. Those big old biceps. Or that shoulder, or that rotator cuff. I don't know. But besides that, I just listed off a bunch of stuff. There is a, what was that heavy metal show? Like Heavy Metal History. That was a really good one. I really enjoyed. That was a long time ago that was on. That was fun, breaking down kind of the decades and different genres of heavy metal music. I love stuff like that. A lot of good documentaries out there. Hit up some film noir. Go way back, watch some film noir movies. How about those? Are always fun to do.
It'll put you right to sleep.
Put you right to sleep
on that
there.
Medicine you're probably on.
Why don't you put out Rio Bravo or El Dorado? Those were two. I had to write like a huge 50-page paper on those ones back in the day. I think it was Rio Bravo and El Dorado. They're basically the same movie done differently, but it's like the same exact movie. That was always really cool. And you had to compare and contrast the movies and talk about the explanation. Same director, Howard Hawks and stuff, putting that film knowledge out there. But that's enough. That's enough recommendations. That's enough to keep you busy for a long time. But we did get a couple other questions this week. Once again, to the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com. We did get one from Eric Hutton. Hi, Kyle and Angie. I've been loving your podcast. I watch on YouTube, so there's no option for a 5-star review, but giving you guys one. Give it the old thumbs up on YouTube is what you got to do. But he looks forward to the podcast every single week with all the videos, both channels. You guys are so great together. And he wants to purchase a book, and he even wants Angie to sign it. So Angie signed a lot of my books there, but we will get that out to you. He just wants to buy a book there. So we do have some books left. I only got a little bit of a stack left, and I don't know if I'll order more or not. We'll see what ends up happening. But if you want a book, reach out, KylePetersonShow@gmail.com. Once again, Angie can sign it. People have asked my dad to sign it. One person didn't want me to sign it. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But shout out to Eric Hutton there. And then Mike Cummins. Mike actually won the copy of the book a couple of weeks ago. So he did get his book. But he does have a little bit of a question here. Angie, is it true that Kyle wears Eternia's finest loincloth to bed every single night?
Yes.
It is true. It's a hairy one too. It's a hairy loincloth, but I do wear that to bed. And it says, Kyle, I know you're a Jeep guy, but would you ever buy a Hummer? Is there one Jeep you regret selling? Well, I love a good Hummer, that's for sure, don't I? Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. And Angie's even a bigger fan a lot of the times, too, which is wild to me. You're always down for a Hummer ride, of course. But I have always wanted a Hummer, but I want, what is it called? The G1 Hummer, like the old school Hummer back in the day. These mom Hummers, I don't want anything to do with. I don't like those things. But man, I wanted a Hummer so bad. And there used to be a Hummer dealership in the early 2000s down the street from our house. And I wanted to go, and I was only like, I don't know how old, like 19, 20 years old or something like that. And I wanted to go test drive a Hummer so bad. I knew they would never let me go in there and just test drive a Hummer because what's this kid? He doesn't got money. He can't afford this $200,000 vehicle. And I begged my dad all the time. It's the story of our relationship, my dad. Dad, can we please go down there? Can we please test drive a Hummer? And I'm trying to talk my dad into buying a Hummer. Like, he would never buy that in 10 million years. Yeah. But I've always wanted one of those old school Hummers, and you don't see those around anymore now that I think about it. There used to be one guy that drove around town. There was actually two of them in town. They're totally gone. But I remember the old magazines, like back in the day, there'd be like Hummers for sale and stuff. And I wanted like a black one. Oh, man.
They really died out when gas prices went up.
Yeah, they did. They did. But man, I haven't thought about a Hummer in a long time, at least the automobile style. Yeah, so I would take one in a heartbeat. And there's even a question here for Gage Octane. You're getting ahead of yourself, Mike Cummins. He's not here yet. Gage Octane, would you rather wrestle Flint or Duke? What kind of match? And Gage Octane, a salt of the earth, great guy, does the announcement every episode of the Kyle Peterson Show for us. But the one thing about Gage Octane is he doesn't watch my reviews and he doesn't watch the podcast either. He can't be bothered with our shenanigans, but he is going to guest host here in July, so stay tuned for that. But would he rather wrestle Flint or Duke? And we might have to ask that. I think he's more of a Flint guy, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I'd be friends with him if he was a Duke guy. So I'm pretty sure that's where he goes with that one.
Well, then wouldn't you want to wrestle Duke?
So you probably...
Would you want to fight your friend?
I'd love to roll around with Flint in the backyard. I'd be all in for that. That'd be a wonderful time. It'd be a wonderful time.
Oh my
But
God.
that is the questions of the week, reviews of the week, whatever you want to call it, all put into a nice little ball here at episode 11. Quite the episode. A lot of stuff here. But of course, the word of the day is, Angie, what? She already forgot. Ah,
I don't even know.
Segway.
Segway.
Segway. That was the word of the day here today. So episode 11. I can't believe it. 11 episodes. We'll be back next week for episode 12, Angie. Any excitement? I guess we can give, hey, how did the Texas Roadhouse birthday go? Angie can give us the line-by-line recap of what she ate, what she did when
Will
she
I let
sat.
them sing to me? Will I be on
Don't
the...
they put you on like a little saddle? We've got to
Oh,
do that. We got to
God.
film it. You got to do it. You got to do it. We've got to do that for sure. Last year, Angie, I
And
just
then they
remember-
take the hanging light and like put it on you like a spotlight.
Oh, I'm
That's
here.
the
We're going to
worst.
film that for sure. But last year, I just remembered last year we went to the Mexican restaurant and you put the hat on.
Mm.
And then we were nervous that she might have head lice. But thankfully, crisis averted on
I
that.
thought you were going to say, like, thank Christ.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christ.
Yes. So there it is. Of course, you want to reach out to us, the Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com. You guys know the drill by now. But for episode 11 of the Kyle Peterson Show, Angie, thank you for coming.
Even on my birthday.
Even on your birthday. Happy birthday, Angie. See you guys all real soon.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?
We're going to the end of the line.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.